Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Mike B and this is
Devin K.
So today we're going to be doing a really cool video that I'm actually going to let Devin take the reins on because I'm not as educated about it because it's a rather new thing. We're going to be talking about Indian Ishapore 2A and 2A1 rifles and what the differences are, what the similarities are, which is a lot. And yeah, I'll be doing some camera work. We'll get up close in the details and show you kind of what's what about this. If you have any questions on it, maybe we'll be able to answer them. So yeah, enjoy the show.
All right, so here we have, because Mike, after shooting my 2A1 this last winter, was it right?
Yeah.
Which is this one here, he went out and bought a 2A, which is a really interesting rifle that has its really own kind of history and stuff to do with it. But it's one of those last bolt-action rifles to really ever see service because, much like what the Spanish did, the Indians had the ability to keep manufacturing these long after the 303 British was basically obsolete. But they could make these from the ground up without changing very much in 7.62x51 NATO, so that way it at least takes the same cartridge as the standard service rifle, which would be the FAL. So they could have both factories making FALs and these to at least get the whole army equipped with something in the same caliber. And these are actually still currently in service to an extent with the Indian military. And there was two versions of them made, the 2A and the 2A1, and both of them are at least 90% parts changeability with an SMLE #1 Mark III. Basically, really nothing changed at all, even like other than the diameter of the inside of the barrel, like the diameter of the bore. Everything else is pretty much interchangeable. So we'll start with Mike's rifle here first, his 2A that he has. Now you see a lot of the 2As are going to have a lot more SMLE parts on them than the 2A1s. So it's not uncommon to find these with 5-piece safeties, whereas Mike's has the 5-piece safety rather than the 3-piece safety. And all that really means is that that spacer where you would have had your volley sights is still in there, because that's how they would have manufactured it back in the day. It even has the front, the rear sight base and the rear sight leaf marked in 303. So these aren't even marked for 308, even though this rifle was built from the ground up for 308 or 7.62x51 NATO. This has the increments on it for 303 British, and as you can see, it has a different rear sight base, a different ramp, a different tangent than my 2A1 does. Mike also has a holdover economy barrel band from World War II because it's brass. They would have discontinued that pretty quickly after World War II, so his must have had a recycled barrel band at some point. And then the easiest way to tell the Ishapore 2A1s, other than the magazine, because a lot of them you find don't have magazines because magazines were kind of crap in them, is the nose cap, which the nose cap does not have a swing swivel on the back. They're just bare, and they're very squared and chunky and heavy. They're not milled. Well, they are milled, but they're not as nice as like an SMLE #1 Mark III. They don't have the nice indents on the sides. They're just straight and blocky and meant to be basically functional and really easy to make. So they take the same bayonet as every SMLE #1 Mark III. So that's fully interchangeable. They don't need to make new bayonets.
And you can still use that grenade launching cup with this front nose cap, correct?
You certainly
because
can.
of those two.
Yes.
Yep, perfect.
And then the aluminum butt plate. All of them will have aluminum butt plates unless it got a recycled stock that already had a steel or brass SMLE #1 Mark III butt plate on it. So the most common butt plates you'll find are aluminum. So, and Mike's is all numbers matching. His has a recycled stock. His is walnut. Most of them you're going to see are going to be made like mine is up here in the Indian rosewood. So it's a solid rosewood stock. And the only differences between Mike's and mine are basically the swing swivels here. Mike's are rounded pieces of like the SMLE. They're made out of wire and they're welded together, big heavy gauge wire. Whereas mine are stamped, which is much more economy. They're flat, they're kind of sharper, and then the only other difference from Mike's to mine, other than the swing swivels, as you can see here, if I put them right next to each other, the rear sight. So you can see this is a very steady ramp. It was milled according to 7.62x51 NATO. And if we tilt the rifles up here, you could look at the increments on the top there, whereas the 2A1s are going to have sights that are milled correctly for 7.62x51 NATO only out to 800 meters, whereas the old British style 303 rear sight leaf is going to have 303 British markings up to 2,000 yards. So they're entirely different in that regard. But other than that, they're pretty much the exact same rifle. They're even the same profile. Like I said, all the parts are interchangeable. An SMLE number 1 Mark III bolt, an entire bolt can drop in, drop out, and it'll work just fine. In these, all the safeties are interchangeable. The triggers are all interchangeable. Even the magazines are interchangeable. You could put a 303 magazine in this. It won't feed right because they're longer and they're rimmed, obviously, from 7.62x51. But the floor plate and everything will take a 303 magazine just fine. But other than that, that really ends the similarities between the SMLE and these, and the differences between the 2A1 and the 2A. So
how would this, having the 303 rear sight, would that actually affect accuracy at longer distances?
At incredibly long distances, it would. Other than that, considering this was deemed adequate enough because they had tons of them laying around. Rifle Factory Ishapore is literally a setup before World War I British run arsenal until the turnover of the country in the 50s. So they had all the right machinery and gauges and everything to make all these parts. They had a lot of them laying around, especially after 2 world wars. And this rifle was never intended to be given to frontline troops that were expected to really see combat. So it was considered adequate enough for truck drivers and artillery personnel and, you know, stuff like that. It didn't really need to be the top of the line like FAL that the infantry would be getting. So it was more than adequate enough, probably out to like 600 yards, accurately enough. You're not going to see too much of a difference because they're similar enough in distance, a yard and a meter are, to where it's not really going to be an issue.
Unless you're getting out there.
Yeah.
And this isn't also supposed to be like a precision tack driver. This is a minute of man, or, you know, somewhere in the vicinity of your enemy, right?
Yeah, the average is 4 minute of angle. So
oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, that, which is pretty standard for a lot of bolt action rifles through both world wars.
4 MOA. So for those that don't know what that means, that basically means at 100 yards, you're getting a 4-inch group. You're getting all your shots within a 4-inch group.
Yes.
So that's not very accurate. You want sub MOA, which is below 1 inch, below a 1-inch group at 100 yards. So 4 MOA is, let's see, at 500, that'd be 20 inches.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
That's a human torso, but still.
Right, but yeah, it's,
yeah.
You know.
But, and then they changed the charger guides. They cut those a little different to take NATO 5-round.
I was actually going to ask you
clips.
that. Thank you for reminding me.
So, other than that, they're all interchangeable. I've had different firing pins in these, different bolt heads in these, just to see if they were interchangeable with SMLEs, and they are. So,
well, cool beans. Shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. All right, well, I think, so did you learn something from the differences between these two?
Yeah, I actually didn't know that I didn't look close enough, I didn't know they cut the charger clip guides a little bit different. I actually didn't even notice the
base, yeah.
The base on the rear, on the rear side. I didn't notice. I noticed the leaves were different, of course, but yeah, I didn't even notice the base. The sling swivels, didn't notice. Well, I had seniors in a while. I didn't pay. That's something I just don't pay attention to.
Yeah, that's nothing they don't really matter too much anyway.
But mine are probably recycled or earlier made, and so that's different. Other than that, yeah, like from what you had told me last time, pretty much like the bolts and everything, and the firing pins and all that stuff are interchangeable.
Yeah, even the barrels. Like if you wanted to turn this into a number 1 Mark III, an SMLE barrel will just screw into the receiver. They didn't change really anything. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, both these rifles have some pretty cool history. Yours is dated 1967,
and yours is 64.
Yep. So that's why this is going to be a 2A. And didn't you say that was one of the last years? 64.
One of the last years would have
before
been
they went to the
2A.
2A1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. Cool. Yeah, that's about all we've got. I learned a bunch in this video. I hope you learned something. It's a really interesting topic. These are really cool rifles, and I think they're really underrated. After shooting his, it was like, oh wow, it's It's basically an Enfield in 308 or 7.62x51, which is super common. Because a lot of people don't like Enfields for multiple reasons, but one of them is the availability and the price of 303 British.
And the reliability of commercial 303 ammo, which doesn't have the nice rims, so they rim jam.
Yep.
And so this solves all those issues.
Yeah, so this is definitely cool. I'm very glad to have gotten one. Thank you last winter for bringing this down and kind of, I guess, well, I shouldn't be thanking you because
you
spent more money. Yeah. But now I got a really cool piece because of that. So, excellent. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. If you liked this video and you did learn something, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon. The link to that is in the description. It's $1 a month, $5 a month or more gets you into the Discord server, which is pretty fun. It's a fun time. And also, make sure you go check out Devin K's channel. I'll
probably put the link to my links and stuff in the description.
I was going to put it to your channel because all your links are on your channel. It's easier because then But hopefully I'll remember to do that. He'll probably remind me. But anyway, if I don't do that, it's youtube.com/DevinK.
Yep.
That's it, to find his channel. He's got a lot of really cool content. He already made a video, like when he first got the 2A1, he made several videos on it, and that's how I got kind of intrigued. So he does some really cool content. And also, if you've seen the ballistic tests, past and present and in the future, hopefully, those cost a lot of money to make, and Patreon crowdfunding really helps kind of offset that cost, so we don't have to fund everything out of pocket, and we can do more. So consider that. If you can't do that financially, if you can't support the channels financially, that's totally fine. We totally get it. Not a big deal. You watching and giving the thumbs up, giving the like on every one of these videos that you like is plenty of support, and we really do appreciate that. So that's all I've got, right?
That sounds about right to me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.